All right, so you want to get good at running. We're going to start immediately into this video because there's going to be a few topics we need to cover. So without further ado, let's get into how to be really good at running. All right, so first things first, before we run at all, what I recommend doing the night before is carving up with some pastas, some breads, things of that nature, because that's going to be one of the first things that your body wants to burn when you start running. Second thing is to hydrate. You want to make sure that your muscles are hydrated, that you're hydrated. It'll prevent muscle cramps, and it'll prevent you from pulling any muscles. So after we've done that or prepped for the run, today's run day. So what we're going to do for run day is start off with a couple of different stretches. So the first thing I like to do is just an easy quad flex. Hold it here. You might need to try to find your balance. So I like looking at the ground right in front of me and holding it for about 12 seconds, trying to really pull that quad and the hip flexor back as much as possible. Hold it for about 12 to 15 seconds, and then we're going to swap legs, do the same thing, and hold it here about 12 to 15, pulling that foot behind us, extending all the muscles here. The next thing I like to do is touch my toes. So I'll come down straight with my legs straight, and I'll just point all the way down to my legs and try to hold that. If you can touch the ground, go ahead and touch the ground, and I'll do that a few times. And if you can't, it'd be good to kind of bounce your muscle into that position. So if you're having trouble touching the ground, just do this a few times. It helps pull that muscle, contract it, so you're being able to elongate that quad muscle or the hand muscle. Great. Now there's a few other stretches that you can do. You can pull the leg up, and it's gonna stretch kind of near the hammy and the glute muscle. And then a few other ones that I'll show you here on the ground. All right, so when you get on the ground, find a nice soft spot to do this because it's gonna be pretty intensive. So the first one is you're gonna get your knees as wide as possible. I know it sounds weird, but it's gonna stretch the inner hip flexor. So when you run, you can open up your stride a little bit more. So go as wide as you can. What you're gonna do is kind of start walking forward with your knees in place, and walk all the way forward. You'll kind of hold this, opening those hip flexors, again, 12 to 15 seconds per stretch. And then with your knees still in the same position, you're gonna push all the way back. I'm pushing into the ground that way with my hands. Again, holding for 12 to 15 seconds. This really opens up those hip flexors. And then do this about 3 or 4 times. Go forward slowly and back slowly. And your legs should be kind of like in a frog leg position at this point. And then when you're done with that, here's another stretch that you can do here on the ground that's pretty intensive. You're gonna put your knee up front, right in front of you, and then you're gonna lean in your chest towards the knee with your back leg straight. So it's gonna kind of look like this. And then you lean into that knee, putting your body weight on it, and it's gonna stretch that quad muscle, hammy area as well. Or not the quad muscle, the glute muscle, sorry. And then you're gonna do the same thing on the opposite end here, and lean into it. It's gonna pull all right there. 12 to 15. And then any other stretches that you feel you may need to stretch. So for the video, it doesn't matter if you're on a treadmill or if you're running outside. Typically, if you run outside, it's a little bit better, but for demonstration purposes, I'm gonna use the video or the treadmill for this video. So I'm gonna go ahead and start here. I'm going to kind of explain as I go. So in the beginning, you can start off on a run if you've stretched, but if you didn't stretch, I recommend starting, if you're on a treadmill, about a 3.5, and start working on opening those strides kind of as a warm up. And I'm not going to sprint on this because I don't have a very long track here, but you want to do this. Try to really pull out those hip flexors, take longer steps, almost if you were doing a power walk, to warm up your muscles so you don't pull anything when you run. and then try to start focusing on your breathing. And I'll talk more about breathing as we continue to go. But power walk here, really pull those hips, elongating those leg muscles, those hip flexors, especially if you sit down a lot, things of that nature, your hip flexors here will tend to shorten. So doing this, you're going to start to feel them kind of tighten and pull. Now, I'm starting getting a little faster. About a 7.2, nice easy jog. So when I do this, now we're going to start focusing on my breathing, right? So here's a method that I use. Think about a martial artist when they throw a punch, a kick. They breathe with every punch and or kick. Same concept. So see if you can hear me breathe. I go. And I do that the entire way. I want to run like that the entire way to make sure that my breath is under control and that my heart rate stays at a steady, controlled pace. Now here, even when I'm running, I have a small trackpad once again, but you want to keep opening that stride. Open your hip gate and continue to run this way. In through your nose, exhale through your mouth. People hear it all the time, but it works. Like this, right? Try to fix my phone here. And then let's say I want to slow down. You don't want to come to a complete stop when you run. The reason you don't want to do this is because your legs will start to tighten up real quick after a run. So you want to continue to do a walk, even if it's just walking in circles, or if it's just doing one of these in place. Just keep them moving, give your muscles a cool down, and just keep walking, catch your breath. And if you're running for endurance, I don't recommend stopping. You want to stay at a comfortable pace the entire time as you run. Now, if you're doing a sprint, it's good to do 60 and 120. So you sprint for 120 seconds, and then you do like a power walk or a recovery walk for 60 seconds. And you just rinse and repeat that cycle. So you'll sprint 120 as fast as you can go for the 120 seconds. And then you'll walk, do that warm up, that recovery for 60 seconds. And that'll help really help your endurance, help your sprint time, and then begin to help with your sprint and your recovery on that. Now, notice when I ran, I was doing one of these. I was running down here with my arms below my heart level. Here's why. Because if I'm running, I'm doing one of these, I'm throwing my arms up and really trying to swing them. One, it's gonna make me run into a sprint, making me more tired, but two, the heart has to pump blood up into my arms, going against gravity versus pumping it down into my arms because I'm swinging them and using them, thus causing my heart to work harder and me having to breathe a lot heavier. So once your heel touches the ground when you run, you can either exhale, and then, or inhale on both of those, and then exhale like you heard me breathing in the video. So practice that breathing right out the gate, get control of it before your heart starts beating really fast and you start panicking, and run that the entire way. And that's all I got for you guys.